So this is why I don't do in-depth book review videos, because I can talk for 45 minutes and say absolutely nothing. I think if you're a fanatic and you have 15 or 16 hours on your hands, give it a listen. I'm also happy I didn't spend money on this book, which sounds really crappy, but there you go. I said it, I said it, I said it. I have tried to film this video multiple times and I'm struggling to be succinct and not do spoilers, so we're gonna give it one last go, and it's a what you see is what you get kind of a situation that's about to happen here. Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. Today's video is one I was not planning to film, in that I wasn't planning to do a dedicated review, but I just finished listening to The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, which is the Hunger Game prequel. Duh. I'm sure everybody's well aware of it. It just came out and there's been hype around it for like a year, but this was like on my list of books that I wanted to read. And to my huge surprise, it was available on Hoopla last Tuesday, and I just snatched it up like a crazy person and have been progressively listening to it over the past few days. And it is a 500-page book. It is a long audiobook, but I have just finished it like an hour ago, and I'm having so many thoughts, and I thought, well, why not hop on camera and talk about them? So that's what we're gonna do today. So a couple things out of the gate. I am not like a Hunger Games fanatic. I read all 3 books when the first Hunger Games movie had come out, and I was intrigued by the movie, and like when it was out on cable, like when you could watch it on your TV at home. And I was like intrigued enough about it, but then I was, you know, being a reader and being a book before movies, and books are always better than movies kind of a gal, I read all 3 books. I bought the entire trilogy at once in like a pack, which I have since unhauled, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, I was in it. Go Katniss. I was sucked into the story. I was there for it. I have since watched all of the movies. Not a huge fan with how they divided up Mockingjay, but that's a story for a different day. But like, I'm in. I'm down. But that's kind of like where it starts and ends for me. So like, I don't know all like the intricate details of things. I'm not like super invested. I'm not like shipping all the characters. I don't even know if I'm Team Gale or Team Peeta, because I went back and forth 100 different times and I could like see it go both ways. But at the end of the day, I thought it was well done. Tragic ending to that. And I think it could have just, it just could have ended right then and there. And then, of course, you know, we're getting a prequel, so I'm curious. And then just a little background in case you're not aware of it. So the prequel is 64 years before the original Hunger Games Katniss book. So it is the year of the 10th annual Hunger Games. And we focus on Coriolanus Snow, who later becomes President Snow, who basically is a horrible leader of Panem, hates Katniss, and is just an all-around awful dude and villain. So my original reaction was more of just like, meh, like this is the guy we're gonna follow. Like, again, not super invested in like the entire fandom of the entire thing, but I kind of feel like there could have been a better person we could follow. But at the same time, I love an unlikable character, you guys know. And I particularly like unlikable characters doing unlikable things. So there was an element of this where I was like, let's see the diabolical crazy dude when he is way younger and see how he got to be the diabolical crazy president who does horrible things to other people. So I was like down for that, but my expectations, I would say, were like here. So I didn't think it was going to be the best thing ever, but I also didn't think it was going to be like total trash, because there must be something redeeming about this. So I have no issues with Suzanne Collins. I have no issues with authors like tapping into things that are successful for them. Yeah, I'm in. I was not looking forward to a book that was gonna make me try and like sympathize with Snow, but hopefully understand him. And again, I was hoping he would just be like a completely horrible person doing horrible things to people. And my general verdict is I'm a bit disappointed in that I wanted more, and that this is a like 510-page book or something, and there are parts of it that are slow. And I listened to the audiobook of this. So this book takes place 64 years before our Katniss Hunger Games. So we are on the 10th annual Hunger Games, and the world is a much different place then. So I very much enjoyed seeing the capital still in a bit of shambles. So it's only 10 years after the rebellion. We get some allusions to this in Hunger Games. The capital was not always the great, plush, posh, rich, fabulous place that we get to see. So it was interesting to see that time and to see Snow's family story, a little bit of struggle. And basically, like, people in the capital, there are people struggling to eat, there are people who are struggling to stay alive, there are people who are struggling to pay rent, and both of Snow's parents have died. He lives with his grandmother and his cousin Tigress. There's another wink, which I enjoyed. And he basically has the same level, or no, he has a level of ambition to him where he wants to be able to get into university and have a career and make money and be successful and support his family, and cares very much for his grandmother, who has a giant rose garden. So there's the roses. And so we get it. So he is motivated in some ways, but he's not the diabolical, horrible person that we come to see in the Hunger Games. And I don't feel like this is spoilery, because I know there's like a lot of stuff out there. I think everyone's original reaction, because we knew, so sort of what we find out, like when the book was coming out, we knew that this was gonna happen. We found out it was Snow's story. This is the first year that they are giving the tributes mentors. And the first time they give mentors a go, rather than it being a surviving tribute or a victor from one of the districts, it is the top students at the academy in the capital, and Coriolanus Snow is one of these people. So he winds up being partnered with Lucy Gray Baird, who is the female tribute from District 12, which is what Katniss was. And much like in Hunger Games, sort of District 1 and 2 are the ones you want to be paired with, and they are just richer and better. Not that they're rich, but they're like better high end. And sort of the further out you get, the worse the districts are. So to Snow's chagrin, he is partnered with the girl from District 12. So it's like a 1-2 punch for him. But he needs to win the Hunger Games because you win a scholarship, and I think you win some money, and he gets to go to university. And Lucy obviously wants to partner with him because she wants to live. So we see the friendship, partnership, relationship between the two of them. And what's interesting is that at this point, year 10, the Hunger Games are not even a glimmer of what they become, and people aren't watching them, and people aren't interested in them, and for good reason, because it is still, at the end of the day, 24 kids being put into an arena to murder each other. And almost better back in the day that people are not fans of it. So it's not this like great sporting event like it is later on. But the Capitol wants to encourage people to participate and to support this and to watch it. So they, sort of the professors challenge Snow and his classmates to come up with ways to make the Hunger Games more engaging. And I loved that concept, because how it got from the horrible thing it was originally to the horrible thing it is that we saw, there's a huge gap between what it is in the 10th annual Hunger Games and then the 64th. So to see the beginning stages of the evolution of how it got to be what it is, I thought was really interesting. And I wish there had been more of that story. And then it was interesting to see some of the other people in the Capitol who were struggling, not just with jobs and money and all of this, but you definitely have some people who are awful, diabolical, shady, just people who are just messing with everything. And then you have people who have crisis of conscience. And I enjoyed seeing that as well. So what I will say is that I totally enjoyed the character Sejanus, who is one of Snow's classmates. He was originally born in District 2. His family moved to the capital so they could have a better life. And then I really enjoyed Lucy, who is the tribute from District 12, and her story. And then I enjoyed Tigress a lot, who is Snow's cousin. And again, we see her in Mockingjay. And other than that, there is so much character soup in this book that I couldn't even like tell you other people's names really, other than like those main people. And there's way too many people to keep track of. I don't think it would have been any different had I read it versus listened to it. And there are a couple points. So you have the 24 tributes, just like, you know, 2 from each district. And then you have the 24 mentors. And they keep like hucking all of their names at you. And there's parts where Snow is like keeping a list of everyone so he can check people off as they die. But he just like reads through all of the names and it's just like, it's a head spin. It's too much. There's too many people to care about, so I wound up caring about none of them. So it's kind of like in the Hunger Games book. So we sort of have the lead up to the Hunger Games of like the tributes coming to the Capitol and sort of the prep. Then we have the physical Hunger Games, and then we have a third section to the book, which I won't spoil. And unlike in Hunger Games and Catching Fire, where I actually cared about some of the tributes, I don't know who any of these people were. So other than Lucy, who's the only one that I gave a crap about, as other people were dying, I didn't care. And I also didn't know like who was who. I didn't know who was partnered with who. I didn't know what districts they were from. I didn't know what their special skills were, like any of it. So as like heads were flinging off and people were getting hung and hanged and people were getting dragged to the town square, like I didn't care about any of them. It sounds horrible. But there was no time to connect with any of these people. So that was like, this is not a story where I was rooting for anyone, and I don't have to like a main character. So again, if you guys know me, and if you don't, here we go. I love bad characters and horrible people doing horrible things. A Kind Worth Killing, Gone Girl, My Lovely Wife, Vicious and Vengeful, the V.E. Schwab series. I mean, how many books do I have on my shelf here that there's just terrible people doing terrible things? I love to dig my teeth into a really screwed up character doing screwed up stuff. And I wanted Snow to be that. And I felt like there was like a wishy-washy element to him, and some of the choices he made didn't feel like deliberate choices. They seemed like sort of afterthoughts, or he like, not that he like blacked out, but it was just sort of like, I didn't even know I was doing it. So it was like, just make a choice, like pick a lane and make a choice and be that guy. And I wanted him to more be that guy. So I was disappointed in that sense. And again, like all in, if I had never read this book, if this book had never existed, nothing would have changed for me. So I don't feel like I understand the Hunger Games any better. I don't feel like I understand him really any better. I don't feel like it has changed anything about the universe for me. I feel like there were a lot of unanswered questions, and I feel like that was deliberate because I mean, I don't know anything about anything, but I feel like there's gonna be more prequels. And my fear is that we had Star Wars and Empire and Jedi, which were perfection. And then we got those 3 prequels that I don't even know the names of. And I didn't watch any of them, and I don't care about any of them, and I don't think they lent anything to the lore of Star Wars. And my fear is that we're gonna get 3 prequels, and unless we start getting like Haymitch's family or something like that, or Effie's family or something kind of mixed into all of this, or give me some more Tigress, please. I think she's amazing. I wanna see more of her. I don't know that it's actually going to change anything. So I just feel like they're kind of like standalone-y. So no shade to Suzanne Collins. Do your thing. I don't have any hate on her. I don't have any hate on her writing. Like I said, I loved the Hunger Games trilogy, but this book didn't change anything for me, and I wanted to get something more out of it. So when I read The Testaments, the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, and we got that Aunt Lydia origin story, she was a horrible human being in The Handmaid's Tale, and in The Testaments we got a little bit of a lot of the background of how she went from who she was before the world changed to becoming Aunt Lydia to, I want to say that book was like 10 years after The Handmaid's Tale happened. Things made sense. And it didn't change how I felt about her in The Handmaid's Tale, because she was still a heinous woman in that book. But I understood her a little differently, and it did change a few things as far as like perspective and understanding went. I don't feel like this changed anything about Snow for me. And what was also like in the Hunger Games, life was on the line. We were in Katniss's point of view. We were rooting for her. we had her connections with Gale, her connections with Peeta, Haymitch, Cinna, the people that we cared about, and Rue. Like, there were people to root for and to be worried about and to be sad about and to be excited about. And I think what is also tricky about this prequel is, like, we obviously know that Snow survives. So even when he was like in perceived danger, we know nothing's gonna happen to him because he's fine. Like, even if he, like, I'm gonna make it up, like even if somebody like hit him over the head at one point or something, like, we know he's gonna be fine. Like, so there's no threat in that sense. And even though there was some threat with some of the other characters, again, I wasn't really invested in them enough to care. I feel like the last, I would say, like, hour of the book, so I don't know what that translates to page-wise, things picked up and things started to happen, and I wish we had more sort of the part 3 world of the book. But things just, like, there was like too dramatic of a shift for me, where we went from, okay, I don't know how to say this without spoiling it, so consider yourself warned. I'm gonna say something that's a little spoilery here, and I'll put a thingy up on the screen just so you know that there's a spoiler that's happening here. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, spoiler. The whole ending with him running away with Lucy, and I never really bought that it was this love story between them. So it just sort of felt like this, like, nothingness between them. And, like, they were both doing it for selfish reasons. And, like, she needed something from him, he needed something from her. Her loyalty was always in question to me. His loyalty obviously was in question to me. And when they decide they're gonna run away together because he's responsible for Sejanus dying and he's worried that that gun is gonna come back to haunt him, and they get to the cabin and he finds the gun and realizes he can destroy it, and then he can go back to the academy and whatever the heck it was called and go be an officer. He instantly, like, we get to see sort of that ambitious part of him, which I wish had been there the whole time. And he makes that little slip up with Lucy where he says, like, killing 3 people was too many, but she only knows that he killed 2, and then she leaves to go pick the Katniss. And then all of a sudden he's like, I think she maybe read between the lines. And when I said 3 people, she realizes I am responsible for Sejanus dying, and now she can sell me out, so now I have to go get her, so let me pick up this gun. And hey, Lucy, and he, like, goes out into the woods and the mockingbirds are singing, and then he, like, shoots into the forest, and maybe he killed her, maybe he didn't, and who knows. And he destroys the gun and goes back to the army base camp, and we live happily ever after. What? Like, did she figure it out? Did she pick up on that? Things changed so quickly. I felt like it was just like whiplash in a bad way, unlike when that poor chick from the Capitol got her throat slit by her tribute when she was taunting her at the zoo. Man, I did not see that coming, but that was good. It was horrible, but it was good to keep me on my toes. But I just felt like this, like, complete 180 of him and Lucy, where it was like all of a sudden it was like, oh, she must have interpreted what I said and it was actually this, and now she's gone. And I don't know. I mean, I think she lives. I don't know who she turns into. I think, what's her face, Ivory, has some connection to Katniss, and maybe she's the grandmother or something like that. I have to say, my biggest fear was that Snow and Lucy were gonna consummate their relationship, and that, like, some twisted way he was gonna wind up being like Katniss's grandfather. That was my biggest fear as I was starting to read this book. So thank God that didn't happen. Oh, that would have been awful. So there you go. That's the rant. We'll stop the spoiler part now. Okay, so back to talking without spoilers. So anyway, this is one of these books. I think if you are a Hunger Games fan, go for it. If you have not read Hunger Games, don't start here, because A, none of it's gonna make sense, and B, just don't. So I think it's to me, like I said, it's very middle of the road for me. I will never read it again. It has not changed me in any way, shape, or form. My curiosity has been fulfilled, and my life is going to keep on going. So I don't know. It was a book where the story wasn't so gripping that I had to read more, but my curiosity factor was so high, I had to read more. and props to her for that, for the engagement factor. But I just, when I finished it, I was kind of like, that's it? Like that's what I just, really? That? And I started having all these thoughts about it, and I just figured, what better place to talk about it than on BookTube? So here I am talking about it. There is a reason I don't do standalone book reviews, and this is proof of it. But let me know. Let me know if you guys have read it, listened to it, plan on reading it, thoughts about any of it. Maybe I just missed a lot of stuff. I feel like there's gonna be people who are gonna like die hard for this book. And if you are one of those diehards, like, don't come for me, please. I'm not shading on this book. I'm just saying I wanted it to be so much more, and I just really wish he would have just been a through and through horrible human being the entire time, because I think I would have enjoyed it much more if he was just diabolical and awful in all the things that he did. And I just wanted him to be, like I said, more deliberate in his choices and more deliberate in his evilness. So anyway, there you have it. There you have it. So I'm checking it off the list. We are done and dusted on the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I didn't have a lot of hype personally. I didn't have a lot of expectation for it. So it's not that it didn't live up to the hype for me. It wasn't everything I wanted it to be, and I think it could have been so much more. But who am I, other than the girl with a bunch of unpublished manuscripts who can't get published yet? So anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you for spending a part of it with me. If you did like this video for some strange reason, definitely give it a thumbs up. Like I said, I don't really do dedicated book reviews. I don't know if you guys find them helpful or fun or interesting in any kind of way, but I like to watch them if it's a book that I'm interested in. And if you have not already subscribed and you would like to do that, that would be wonderful as well. Rest assured, this is not my typical content. This is just me having a day and having some thoughts. So I hope you guys are doing great. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending time with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.